Welcome everybody to the Ultimate Hockey Show. A little bit late getting going, but it happens. Michael Gill alongside Rich Petty here to sit and watch. And our little conundrum reminds me of the Winnipeg Jets. Oddly enough, in an odd way. We'll get to that in a minute. How are you, Rich?
Very good. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Interested what's going to happen tonight with this hockey game, but that's besides the point. But yeah, I'm just generally curious. There's a lot of hockey related things that I'm curious about, and how the Winnipeg Jets are going to get out of this late season swoon is one of them. It's so weird. We take a bye week, if you want to call it that, and the Winnipeg Jets win very little, if any, hockey games coming out about bye week. Rich, I know you were gone, so you were spared of a lot of the details of this losing streak, rightly or wrongly or painfully, whichever way you want to look at it. My season done, so now I'm privileged to be able to watch a lot more Jets games than I do over the course of the season. Your thoughts on where we are?
Well, in terms of where we are, like with
the Winnipeg Jets as a team, where the playoff scenario sits.
Yeah, that is you know what? That is a good question, because the last show, I'm pretty sure it was the last show. Maybe it was the show before, but I think
they were going in to play the Rangers.
Is that right? It might have been the last show was when they were going to play the Rangers. No. Was it? No, I think they had already played them. No, maybe not. No, it was right. That's right. It was Tuesday, right? It was the Tuesday show, but right, it was the lead into that show. But yeah, I have been, and I think we said at the time, the Jets were one of the very best teams in the league. I said that, and I said the way that they're playing, when they're on their game, they can win against anybody, and they showed that, winning against the Rangers, which you could argue is one of the top 3-5 teams in the league. And since that time, they have done nothing but lose. Yeah, they've lost 6 in a row since that win. And that game, you could even argue, was one of their most impressive wins of the year. In fact, I remember Square Neal after the game said, I'm proud of everybody. Everybody had a part to contribute. It was a great team win, and we played well in all facets of the game, and we never cheated the game, and we played it the right way, start to finish. And since that time, that was sort of like the apex, you want to call it, like being on the mountain. And now they've slipped off the other side, and they've just rolled downhill ever since. Because you could argue, and you could say, oh, okay, losing against Vegas, a good team. Edmonton's been pretty hot lately. But look at these games, like New Jersey, New York Islanders, Ottawa, Washington, even Washington. They're all non-playoff teams. Like, and they got hammered by the Islanders. They lost 3-0. They can't score goals. They're not scoring, and their power play stinks. How can you have that many talented players and not score on the power play? I don't get it. Like it's bewildering.
I think it can be summed up as the following. The Winnipeg Jets early in the season were buoyed by their team defense and the astute ability to play 5-on-5. It made up for a lot of their issues on the penalty kill and on the power play, which, let's be frank, outside of a 2-week stretch, has been horrible for both. I would say that when Monahan and Toffoli came back in the lineup, They had those 2 games where the power play was really good. It corresponded with playing teams at the bottom of the standings. And since then, I look at one glaring stat. The Scheifele line, and Mark Scheifele in particular during this 6-game losing streak, and I don't want to single anybody out, but he just as an example, he's a -7 on this 6-game losing streak.
Yeah. He was the other night against what game did I watch there? The Ottawa game. He was he was -2.
Yeah.
He's just they're on the ice all the time for goals against. They don't back check. He makes a pass across the middle in the offensive zone, gets intercepted, and immediately Ottawa sends 4 guys out of the zone, and him and Connor, he's right on the half wall, right at the top of the circle, and Connor's circling at the top by the blue line. There were guys that were further back in the defensive zone from Ottawa than Connor was. And Connor does this big circle, and then he's slowly skating back. The other 4 guys are taken off. Scheifele's slowly skating back. Connor's all of a sudden, to 4-on-2, 4-on-1, and then they start going like crazy. And then it's too late because the other guy's got 4 steps on you. Like it's lazy. And that, you know what, for me, again, we talked about this before. To me, that's about team play. To me, I don't care that you score a point a game. I don't care that you score 30 goals a game. On all these things, it doesn't mean anything if you're not willing to play the right way for your teammates, right? Like if you score 3 goals a game, your line, and you're -3 as a team, as a line, there's something wrong.
You're losing 6-3.
Well, yeah, and maybe all the goals you score on the power play, but meanwhile at even strength or even on the power play, you let all these goals get scored against you. I'm just saying, and it's like if you give up the puck like that, you should be the first one back. You should be skating your can off, and even if you don't catch up, you should look like you're trying to skate and catch one of the guys that are trolling in at the end. Like it's just, and you should be aware. Josh Morrissey pinched. He tried to squeeze the puck off. As soon as Josh Morrissey does that, that's part of that system. Is you've got to cycle back. You got to turn back around in case Morrissey gets pinched off and he's not able to get back. So that DeMello's not all by himself. It's not rocket science. It's hockey, and I don't. And they're not going to win games. I don't care. Now we're getting to the playoff push. It's going to be hard to win. It's hard to score goals. You have to play the right way and when you get your chances, bury them. And right now, they're not playing well. They're just not playing well.
Couple of things I want to address.
Yeah.
Tonight's lineup: Connor and Scheifele separated.
Oh,
Connor with Monahan and Perfetti right now in place of Toffoli. Toffoli to answer Rob's question is a game time decision with an illness.
Okay. Where are you seeing this? Is this on the Winnipeg Jets website?
Yeah.
Is that where you put this?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it from their Twitter account, their X account. The Lions right now, just give me 1 second here. It is Ehlers with Scheifele and Velarde. The second line is Connor with Monahan and Perfetti. Third line is normal. Fourth line is as it's been for the last little bit.
So Perfetti comes in for Toffoli, a game time decision because Toffoli is fighting an illness.
Correct. And Toffoli's still a game time decision. So basically, if Toffoli goes, you can swap out Perfetti and Toffoli.
Okay.
And it's basically back to where it was with Kyle Connor injured and that 11-0-1 run without Kyle Connor in the lineup in January. More interestingly enough, the last time this top line was together, as it is, they combined for 11 points in that game in LA. So interesting where that sits. The other interesting thing is after playing this 500 game, and Rob has kind of alluded to this, Laurent Brossoit starting tonight against the LA Kings after Connor Hellebuyck plays this 500 game. I think you'd agree with me on this. It's not Hellebuck's fault on this 6-game losing streak, which ironically enough dates back to Brossois' last start, or the start before that. It was really this can started going down the road in New Jersey, so unless that Jeff Brossois was the one who played that New Jersey game. Then it was Hellebuyck, Brossois, Hellebuyck, all the way through to today. So, I guess my question is, Rick, is there any solace in taking a small sample out of this losing streak? Like, okay, they played okay against Edmonton, didn't go their way. Played okay against Vegas, didn't go their way. We're in the game against Ottawa, still didn't do things very good, particularly in that second period, which I call the dumpster fire when watching it. There were turnovers, there was everything in that second period. Is there any solace in taking small victories at this time of year?
No. Very simple.
A loss is a loss.
Look at Colorado and Dallas. Good teams find ways to win and win even when everything doesn't work out. The Jets, they make one little mistake and that costs them the game. Like the Jets are 2-all late in the third period and with 3-4 minutes left. And I like Brendan Dillon. I like him. I like his game. Why do you take that type of a penalty in front of the net with 4 minutes left? Like you can't take a guy's head off with your glove in front of that. Like you could push him in the chest. You can knock him over a little bit. Like that's all positioning for that. But you put a glove in a guy's face with the stick, sort of the pushing and knocking a guy so that he snaps his head back and falls to the ice. You're embarrassing the ref. The ref has to call that. You can't get mad at that. Like take that glove and jam it in his chest. Don't jam it in his face. In his face is 2 minutes. In his chest is nothing. But I'm saying it's all that. It's thinking. It's knowing. It's game management. It's knowing where you are, what you are. You've lost 5 in a row. You should not be doing that in front of the net. I don't care. You're up 8-1 in the game. Go ahead. You want to push a glove in somebody's face, knock yourself out. You're going to get 2 minutes. Great. Who cares? You're up 8-1. You're tied 2-2 with 4 minutes left in the third period, and you haven't won 5 in 5 in a row. You haven't won a game. I would not be sticking that glove in that guy's face in that place. That's me. But again, I'm sure that's what the coaches are telling. It's game management. It's being smart. It's playing the right way. I don't know how else to describe it. And
me, if I'm the coach of the Jets, Brendan Dillon is not playing today because of that penalty.
Well, I don't know if I would do that. Like, I'm not playing. Listen, Brendan Dillon's not the reason they lost the game. They lost the game because they can't score. They lost the game because their power play stinks. They lost the game.
Fair enough. They were 0 for 5 or whatever they were.
They should play the game. You know what they should do? They should play one. Like with LA, it's not going to be any easier for LA to try and score goals against LA because LA plays very well defensively when they play their right way. But I was saying I would play this game and I would just play kitty bar the door. I would do like LA. Just go to the red line, dump it in, dump and chase, grind it out, go 0-0 with 5 minutes left of the game. Or if you get a power play, score on your power play. 5-on-5, play it even. Get 1 or 2 power plays, score 2 goals, go up 2-0 or 2-1, and ride that game into that. That's what you should do. They're playing the right way because that's how it is in the playoffs. You're not going to win games 8-4. You're not going to get all these chances. You're not going to get tons of ice. You got to go to the greasy areas and get pucks at the net and shoot and bang in rebounds. That's hockey now. That's what it is. And I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I think it's a whole bunch of things. But when I look at how they're playing now, they're a little bit disjointed. There's not good flow. They don't make good exit passes. They're a little bit chunky. And you could say, well, that's the other team too. Okay, granted. Yeah, it's hard to score 5-on-5, especially at this time of year. Teams are getting tighter defensively. That's why your special teams have to be special. And the Jets special teams right now are indescript. What's special? My
Nothing.
dog is special. My grandsons are special. My wife is special. But the Jets power play and the penalty kill, they're not special. They're just meh. And if you're just meh, you're not going to win enough games to get into the playoffs. Or if you do, you're not going to win a lot of playoff games. And I don't know, they've got all year to try and fix it. And I don't know what the answer is, but whatever.
Are you concerned that this would potentially be the third year in a row that when it gets difficult in the season, the Jets, for lack of a better term, fold the tent? They're unable to do it. We saw this two years ago in January onward. We saw this last year, January onward.
But it's not the same team.
No, but it seems to be an epidemic with the organization as a whole that come toward the end of the year, we fold like a cheap lawn chair.
I don't know. Like, I would have thought, like, bringing in Toffoli and Monahan and Miller, three guys that have tons of playoff experience, know that grind, that they would be adding something. And I'm surprised. Why is Colin Miller not playing? Is he injured?
You don't think that he's one of the top 6 defensemen?
Why did Samberg not play? Was he hurt or sick?
No, they have this rotation going on.
Well, in my mind, Dylan Samberg should be in the lineup every time before Nate Schmidt. I like Nate Schmidt. He's a good hockey player. But you talk about being a top 6 defenseman, he is not in the top 6. I would play Colin Miller and Dylan Samberg before I play him. But again, I don't know. I don't think it's not something. It's not organizational. It's not that, because you have a completely different coach from 2 years ago. You have completely different players. I mean, there's a few players the same, like your goalie and your star defenseman and your star centerman. Okay, but there's lots of players around there are new to the team and they weren't part of that, and whatever. It's just a shame because other teams had their downtime and they're on a roll and they're rolling into the playoffs. And I told you, like I said about the Stars look like they're on a mission. I think they're the dark horse to win this. Well, they're not a dark horse because they're one of the top teams. But I said already a month ago, the Stars, they've got even scoring. They got big defensemen. As long as Ottinger, is it Ottinger or Ottinger? As long as he plays well in net and he can at least provide a semblance of some consistent goaltending, I think the Stars are the team to come out of the Western Conference. So, but they find ways to win. They just keep winning. They grind out a win. They go into overtime. They get a win. They get a power play late in a game. They score a goal. They find ways to win. They get a power play called against them. 5 minutes left. They kill it off. I'm just saying they find ways to win. And the Jets right now are finding easy ways to lose. And that's what it is. And that's why the Stars and why Colorado are in first and second place. And the Jets are a falling star. They're just...
So here's the question then. To me, this is all about the Winnipeg Jets and not what Dallas and not what Colorado does. I think the ship has sailed on first and second place in the Central, right or wrong?
Well, you could say that, but again, just like the Jets looked fantastic 2 weeks ago, now they've lost 6 in a row. Who's to say that Dallas or Colorado couldn't lose 6 in a row? Right. If Colorado and Dallas lose 6 in a row and the Jets go 5-1, the Jets are right back in it for first and second place. So I don't know. You're right, though. I think first and second place, I don't think there's enough time to make up for it because everything has to align. Both Colorado and Dallas would have to lose a ton of games or remaining, and the Jets would have to win all those games to make up all that ground. And I think that's why you can't lose 5-6 in a row with 15 games left in the season. You can't. You just can't do it because you drop out of your spot because everyone else, all the good teams, keep winning. And if you're a good team and now suddenly you start to lose with a couple of weeks or 3 weeks left in the season, you're going to drop in the standings. And that's what's happened for the Jets. So
here's my question. What are you looking for in the last 10 or 11 games? Is it getting back to what it was and the chips fall where they may, or is it something else?
I agree. Well, I would say a couple things. Number one, they have to get back to playing that right, like a defensive way that provided them all the success early on, and stick to it. Even if you don't score a goal, even if you're halfway through the third period at 0-0, it's 1-1. Who cares? Play the right way. Number two, they have to improve their power play and their penalty kill, even if they improved it just a little bit.
Just a little bit wins a lot of one-goal hockey games that they're presently losing.
And so inopportune, like late in a game to get a power play and to allow a goal to go in. Bad. Now, Iafallo got injured. He blocked the shot. His ankle was in chunks there, and that's why they only had probably 3 defenders, not 4. That could be part of it. Well, that happens. But I was thinking, even the power play, you get a late power play before that penalty kill. I think they had a power play with like 6-7 minutes left. I don't even know if they got a shot on net. Like it's I don't know. I am just stunned at how, and maybe get some comments from listeners, but I am stunned at how ineffective and just kind of vanilla the Jets power play looks like, considering how many talented players they have in that lineup, especially on the first power play unit. I mean, Vilardi, Scheifele, Connor, Monahan, Morrissey. I mean, those 5 guys with 4 guys on the other side should be able to score a goal every second time they have a man advantage. They should be able to. It's not
to me, they're really overcomplicating things.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're looking for the perfect shot or what's happening. They figured out that other teams have figured out that they're not going to let Connor shoot the one-timer from Morrissey. Okay. They figured out, that play where Scheifele passes it down to Vilardi, and then Vilardi passes it up to the position for Monahan in that spot there in the bumper. I guess they call it the bumper spot.
Well, but
try something else.
Yeah, if I could let the listeners in on something, you and I were talking yesterday about the whole scenario about a power play and movement, and the Oilers moving the puck around and this team moving the puck around. I want to take our listeners behind the scenes on that conversation, because I think it was a rather simple yet effective way to sum up the power play.
Okay.
The other teams are moving their parts around on the power play. The Jets are not.
Yep.
Why? Well, why does this group think that a simple shot with no movement is going to eventually get in 5 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 10? And then, everybody else is just moving around. It makes it look so easy. And even on the Jets penalty kill, I feel threatened that the other team is going to score on 75% of the penalties that the Jets take, because they move the puck so much differently than the Jets.
Yep.
Why is there such a reluctance with this coaching staff to say, oh, Edmonton's doing it this way, Vegas is doing it this way, maybe we should do it this way, but no, we're doing it so much differently?
It's a good question. It's a good question, Michael. Listen, you and I, we run a hockey show. We don't run a hockey team. We don't coach it, or an NHL level team. We don't coach it. We don't play on it. We don't manage it. We don't put players on the ice for it. But just simple guys. We are just simple hockey guys. And I agree with you. That's, no matter what you're doing, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again and you're getting no results, that's not smart thinking. You have to change.
You've read the definition of insanity right there.
Right. And expecting a different result. I mean, I didn't want to say it, but you brought up, but it's insane. I don't say it's insane, but it's not smart. So try something different. Why not put Toffoli and Monahan right in front of the net and screen the goalie and just pound shots away from Morrissey and from Scheifele at the top or near the top, and just have Connor going in for rebounds and for loose pucks. Why not try that? Other teams do that.
To me, they just have a blueprint to the way they've scored their goals in the last 4 games. If you look at the last 4 games, the Jets have scored their goals, deflections, traffic, bodies.
Yep.
When they have scored. Particularly that Edmonton game. Both goals were scored with defensemen shooting and screens in front and Monahan a tip on the 3-2 goal. How is that so hard to replicate? And I guess if we had the answer to that, we'd be millionaires because every power play would go in and But it's just like it just seems like the inadeptness of the coaching staff to realize what could make a team successful.
Yep.
I don't know. That's just how I feel. Really quickly, Rob, the answer to the 8 p.m. start is national TV. Because it is not a national game on Monday nights, this particular one, national TV requires a 2-hour buffer for no games within a certain region overlapping. So, for example, the Florida Toronto game starts at 6. It's in the national contract that there's a 2-hour buffer for any other games on a national night not being broadcast by a national carrier to have a 2-hour buffer. Hence why the Jets and the Kings are starting at 8. Also, the Blues and the Oilers are starting at 8. There's a 2-hour buffer within that national window to sort of protect the national broadcast for as conceivably long as possible. That is your answer for the 8 p.m. start. That is what I was told from people that would know pretty significantly. It's also the same reason why there was a lot of 8:45 starts in the playoffs of it each get the back-to-back of a doubleheader. National TV drives everything, even on a night where the game is not on national TV. Local TV has some say. Ultimately, it's all everything. I would say even sports predicated wise is predicated on TV times and this and that time for TV and all that kind of stuff. Although completely different subject. I was watching some of the March Madness and how you can have a 10:05 p.m. start on the East Coast for your last game, and they're still playing basketball at 12:30 in the morning. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but then again, it's predicated on TV. Where can you maximize your TV viewership?
Correct.
Such and such a time. Hence why there's a big women's basketball game tonight. LSU and Iowa playing in the prime slot in about an hour. So actually less than that, about a half an hour now. So it's all predicated on TV. That being said, Rich, I did want to touch on one other thing. For the sake of time, I don't think we'll have time to go around the lead like we normally do, but I want to talk about sort of a look ahead to the playoffs. Obviously, that 8th spot in the East is still up for grabs right now between Washington and Detroit. New Jersey making a run, but they're kind of tripping over each other, tripping over themselves, really to get any kind of points with any kind of consistency. The West, let's set St. Louis and Minnesota dropping off, which is good news for the Jets. By my prognostications today, it's looking like it's going to be between Dallas and Colorado for first in the Central. It's going to be between Florida and Boston, for first in the Atlantic. Carolina and the Rangers will be battling for first in the Metro. And in the Pacific, Edmonton making a bit of a charge, but I still think that they are too far back of Vancouver to make a serious run for first place. Stranger things have happened.
True.
Vancouver's kind of hit a bit of a wobble while Edmonton seems to be catching fire. They do have a head-to-head, not this weekend, but next weekend. We'll see if that means anything going forward. So that's kind of where the playoff scenario sit. But I had this question on the email, and I don't know if you saw this about, playoff expansion. Do you add a play-in 7, 10, 8, 9? What are your views on getting 2 more teams into the playoffs?
I'm not a fan of it, but I know why they would do it. They would do it because
Money?
yeah, they want to make,
TV?
of course, Michael, when they say it's not about the money, it's always about the money. Even when they don't say it's about the money, even when they don't talk about money, it's always about the money.
Right.
So that's why, because that's what Major League Baseball did the same thing. So maybe they're going to do some single game knockout thing. I don't know why you want to make the playoffs even longer.
Yeah.
It's already
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's already 2 months potentially if each series goes a couple of weeks with 7-game series. So to me personally, I think it's silly, but I know why they do it. I'm not a big fan of it. And to me, you have roughly, so what is it? Like you have a 32 team league, right? Isn't it 32 teams?
Yep.
Or 31? Yeah.
Yep.
So half the teams
get in.
half the teams. That's already enough. You're going to do more than half, play an 82 game season, and more than half the teams make the playoffs? Come on, then why do you have a regular season?
Yeah.
I mean, this is not the CFL.
Yeah. You know what? I would be in favor of 1 more team on each side getting in. And if you wanted to have a 1-game playoff for that second wild card, go right ahead. But I think more times than not, you're devaluing your regular season. To be honest with you, I think the NFL is getting there with the way their playoffs are set up and the top 7 getting in. And now all this talk about an 18-game season, which is coming, and playing football literally on every night of the week. To the NFL wants to flex its power. To me, I just think it's all about the money. It's all about the show. I would caution too in baseball. There's been no real significant runs coming out of the wild cards or real surprises. There has been a team, including the Texas Rangers, that played in the wild card last year, but went on to win the World Series. But as far as upsets in the wild card, 3-game series in the wild card, it's really just a springboard for whoever wins the wild card to go on a run. I don't think there's that much of a surprise. I think, to be honest, the playoffs should remain as it is. I will, however, entertain the fact that they should go back to 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5. That is the way I grew up watching it. None of this good teams out in the first round, and that's going to be that, because it really waters down the playoffs in the second and third round. To me, I think it's going to be absolute hogwash that potentially, and I say potentially, one of the Jets and Dallas will be gone. Potentially one of Edmonton and Vegas will be gone. Going the other way, potentially one of whoever finishes second and third on the other side would be gone. Like, to me, I don't think it should be bet on best too early, and I think you should put more emphasis on winning your division and giving them the perceived easier matchups going forward. But that's just me. I think the NHL should go back to 1-8, 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5, and not change the format as it's currently constructed.
Yeah. I would not argue with you there. But when you say 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, would you make the 2 seed the winner of the other division, or not necessarily?
Yeah. So your division winners are 1, 2, regardless. Then everybody else gets seeded in order of points.
3 versus 8. Okay, I could agree with that, because there has to be some carrot for winning your division.
Your division winners are guaranteed a top 2 spot.
Yeah.
After that, nothing else is guaranteed.
I would like that. That because then there's still interdivisional play matters then, right? Like or play within the division
Interdivisional play
still
matters, but
matters.
you don't
Yeah.
have this 112-point team playing this 110-point team, which would be the
In the first
perceived
round. Yep.
4-5 or 2-4, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yep.
To me, it's a way of ensuring that your top two teams still find a way to meet in the conference final,
Yep.
which is not always possible if one division is more top heavy than the other.
Right.
See Boston and Florida as an example. They are battling and they're going to meet in the second round instead of potentially meeting in the third round. That is about the only change I would make to the playoffs, but the NHL seems stubborn on these divisional rivalries in the playoffs, regional playoff rivalries. Name me a rivalry that has come as a result of the current format. I can't find one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's those that'll say, okay, the best teams are playing early on when they're perceived healthy. Good hockey early, not so good hockey late. I did subscribe to that theory, but I still think it should be best on best as late as possible.
I agree.
And that's going to be kind of my discussion. That's kind of the point that I wanted to make out of that whole discussion. We'll be back next Monday, but let's talk about the week that is for the Winnipeg Jets.
Okay.
Very quickly, it is off the top of my head. I'm doing this by memory. Tonight, LA, Thursday, Calgary, and Saturday will be in Minnesota. And I'm looking at that last road trip. It's Minnesota, in no particular order. Minnesota, Colorado, Dallas, Nashville, and home for the last two. So, your thoughts on what the Jets could and probably will do this week?
Well, what did I know last time you asked me? I thought they'd go 4-1 or 4-1-1, and they went 5-1. So maybe they could go the other way now. I don't know. Seeing the way they play now, just the way it is, I'm going to say 1-1-1 for the next 3 games: LA, Calgary, and Minnesota. Because our next show is Monday, April 8th.
Monday, 8th,
yeah. I'm going to go 1-1-1. Right down the line.
You're taking the Michael Gill special.
Of course.
You're being way too conservative, Rich.
It's called playing it safe.
Well, you and I are exact opposites. I think the Winnipeg Jets bust out of the street tonight. I think they win Thursday. I think they win Saturday. I'm calling a 3-0 week.
Wow. Hoya moya. Okay.
Get some confidence back into this market whose confidence seems to be shattered, and everybody's talking about 4-game sweep, 4-game sweep, 4-game sweep. Now, the Winnipeg Jets will clinch a playoff spot this week, and we'll do it by going 3-0. I said it.
Okay. Wow. Drop the mic. That's it.
Drop the mic. Let's get out of here. Really quickly, because we have a little bit more time. That segment was a little quicker than I thought. Okay. What else stands out to you in hockey this week or as a whole?
Well, I just was watching. I was away, so I watched a lot of the games just on PVR, and I just thought it really, I don't know, other people say this on other blogs, whatever, but it really is amazing. Like, you would think that reffing, they would try to be as consistent as possible. Well, for sure within a game. For sure within a game, but even from game to game, like you try to. But I am just shocked at the variation in how games are called, depending upon the pair of refs that are.
Depending on who's playing. Never mind that.
Well, who's playing, but it's the refs. It's not the refs. Like, I'm just saying, like last night, or not last night's game, the game against Ottawa. And I'm just not saying games or penalties called against the Jets, but there was one called against Nate Schmidt. Then there was one called against Neil Pionk. Then there was one called against Sanderson, and then that Grieg. Like, there were some penalties. Like, that's a penalty? You're going to call that a penalty? Oh my gosh, if you're calling that a penalty in 2 weeks' time when the playoff starts, there's going to be guys in the playoffs. There'll be more guys sitting in the penalty box than on the sitting on the bench in front of the coaches. They're so soft. I mean, please, like, call a penalty if it makes sense. If a guy's going in on a breakaway and he can't get a shot off, that's a penalty, or he gets slashed. It's a penalty. But some guy skating through the neutral zone and a guy gives him a little bump, or Schmidt, or like just this little bump, and then he get a little tug, and you call him for holding or hooking on his hands. It's nothing. It's in the neutral zone. You're going to call that a penalty? That happens 50,000 times a game. I don't get it. But then you go to another game, and then I watched the game before. There was hooking the whole game. The refs didn't call anything.
Yeah.
Because it's two different sets of refs. So there's no consistency from game to game. It drives me crazy. And if I was a player, it would make me crazy, because I can do this. I do a little bit of this on one game. I get away with it. I do a little bit of the next game. I get to the penalty box 3 times. And I'm not talking about stuff like what happened to Brendan Dillon with the glove in the face. That's a penalty. Okay, it's roughing. You have to call that. I don't care if it's 4 minutes left in the game or not. You got to call it. A guy goes in a breakaway, has a chance to split a pair of guys, and he gets hooked before he's going through to the net. You got to call that. But in the neutral zone, guy skates through and you give him a tap on the gloves, and the guy goes like this, like a chicken wing busted. And then you call a penalty on that? Come on. That it's not good. So anyway, that's my one takeaway, is how awfully inconsistent the reffing is, which would drive me crazy as a player, and it's already driving lots of fans nuts. The other thing I'm shocked of, I'm surprised of, is, well, Colorado and Dallas. Like, you're really seeing the teams, I think, that are kind of separating themselves from the other teams. Now, the Rangers lost to the Jets, I guess, about a week or a week and a half ago. The Rangers are a good team. The Bruins are a good team. The Panthers are a good team. Those 3 teams in the East. In the West, Dallas, Colorado, Vegas, maybe Edmonton. The rest, I think, are right now, they're in a let's pretend mode, because I just don't think they're in the same echelon. And you can really see the teams that are.
Yeah, it's almost like we're getting a market correction, and what's supposed to happen is happening. But then again, there's a lot of people that will say, and this is just kind of my closing thought here, because we got a runner up against the clock. Yeah. I think if you would have taken a lot of people's word and they would have said this would be the Winnipeg Jets record through 70-something games, that they'd be third in the Central and this would be their record, a lot of people would have been head over heels excited with that.
Sure. At the beginning of the season, before we knew anything. Yeah.
Right? So I think we need to keep that in perspective. Winnipeg Jets break the streak tonight. We'll see you next week. Hopefully I'm right. Probably will be wrong yet again. Rich will probably be right, and we'll come back on the show 1-1-1. Somebody knew something, somebody didn't. Anyway, that is it. We're done. Good night from Winnipeg. Enjoy the basketball. Enjoy the hockey. There's a lot going on. April is quite the month for sports as well. Congratulations to the Winnipeg Ice, who are hosting the SL Cup Western Regionals. That is the big announcement just on my way out. You can catch all 3 games against the Regina Rebels on the Game Time TV YouTube channel for free beginning Friday night at 7:30 with game number 1. All of that will be on our YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that. We want to make it free with the help of some generous sponsors to close out the year. And that'll be that. We'll see everybody next Monday. And we'll be back to wrap up the week that is, and hopefully not a disappointing week for the Winnipeg Jets, but we'll be back nonetheless next week. Good night from Winnipeg.